Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go.
Hello everybody, my name is Jacob Lemons and welcome to another episode of LemonTalks. Now, if you've been paying attention online, I said that this is going to be the finale to our study series on reboots. And so the way that this episode is going to go, it will be a lot quicker than our other episodes of LemonTalks, simply because all of the information that I am talking about, I'm not going to go into extreme detail on them. If you want to know what I'm talking about with each series, then simply go back and watch a previous episode that goes into a more detailed analysis of each show, and that's where you'll find that answer. However, we're going to go into the roadmap, which is very short. First, we're going to talk about our overarching question, which is, are reboots necessary and successful? And then we're going to talk about the results of those and or the final answer. So getting into the overarching question. So when we ask ourselves if a reboot is successful, we have to ask ourselves not only how did it do in terms of money, viewership, or even how much they paid the actors, what the ratings were on the show. Those are all statistics and logistics for the show that are more definitive, but also we need to ask if the show succeeded in what it set out to do as a reboot. The Fuller House simply wanted to continue the story with a whole new generation of Tanners, and the Connors wanted to wrap up their show in a more satisfying way compared to their season 9 exit. And that 90s show also wanted to continue their story, but by telling a new and more compelling one through the eyes of Leia. And then iCarly also wanted to see a more fulfilling ending for their characters, particularly Carly and Freddie. And then the Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, wanted to tackle new topics and themes with the Proud Family, specifically because of how well their messages were received in the past using the Proud Family. And or they wanted to use the name of the Proud Family in order to talk about some controversial topics and give a little more insight to a minority point of view on such issues. Now, when we look at the series, in terms of rating, viewership, money made, there is a clear answer to this question, and it's that reboots are not worth making, even if we did see the original get to find somewhat of a better conclusion to everything that was going on in the show. It just wasn't worth it financially or reputatively. So the problem is that we didn't always get that. And so in some cases, it left the series off in a worse place than when it had ended. The Fuller House, that 90s show, iCarly, and Louder and Prouder are all examples of this. iCarly is kind of sitting on the fence with that just because while we did see it have a satisfying end, it left it really open-ended and kind of almost like they were expecting another season in order to tell another story that they started at the end of their finale. And so when we look at their success based on if they had successfully done what they had set out to do, we lean a little bit more toward them serving their purpose. Fuller House did continue the story with a whole nother generation of Tanners. They did that, even if they didn't get as good of an ending compared to its predecessor, Full House. They continued the story, and that's all that they wanted to do for all of the fans that had been asking if they were ever going to get a series like that. The Connors are literally taking an entire season to wrap up any lingering storylines from the reboot and give their characters happy endings. I guess that they actually learned from their mistake with Roseanne, and they're not going to leave it so open-ended and so flat, really. So that 90s show was doing what it set out to do. Unfortunately, people lost interest way too quickly, and it did not see itself through. As we've talked about before, they're hoping to rectify this, but as it stands currently, they did not do what they set out to do. iCarly also technically wrapped up things in terms of original plot lines. Carly and Freddie finally get married, but because of the way that the final episode had ended so ambiguously, It's tough to say whether or not this show actually set out on its mission or not, because Paramount had even said, if we talk about as we talked about in the iCarly episode, that they simply wanted to do that with the show. However, the show's writers wanted to start something else because they believed that they had been successful enough to justify more seasons. Guess that they never completely communicated with Paramount Plus on that because Paramount Plus said no. And Louder and Prouder is another example of how a series did like half of its mission. While it did bring back the iconic family and it did tackle new topics and new themes, unfortunately it got wrapped up in controversy along the way, and so they hadn't had this controversy before, and so they may have accidentally done damage to the Proud Family name rather than capitalizing on it. So our final answer with all of this is going to be that, and definitively, I can say no. Reboots are not worth doing. If we truly care about these characters, then we should push for and seek good endings the first time around, instead of bringing the show back with hopes of success only to see it fizzle out quickly, leading to even more disappointment being left behind. Because that is what it truly seems that a lot of these reboots were born out of, is this nostalgic feeling for what was, and that nostalgic feeling fades fast. Very fast, because most of these reboots that didn't even see more than a few seasons, their viewership was higher than ever in the first season that they were alive, and just decreasing from there. The only reboot that we can say for sure has had high ratings throughout its entire lifespan has been The Conners. And The Conners, that is because they stuck to what made their original series great while adding new characters and new storylines, but remembering what their target audience loved about their show. Other series that we talked about, other reboots, they didn't necessarily do that. They wanted to talk about other topics. They wanted to approach them in different ways, and it just did not work out for them in the way that they believed that it would. So now let me know what you think about this answer. Do I think that reboots will continue to happen? Of course. Of course, people will still reboot series that they feel like didn't end properly the first time around. Should they? Well, based on our study series, the answer is no. The best thing I feel to do with these series that people are sort of nostalgic for is get to the bottom of what these fans are missing from it, what they feel like is incomplete from it, if they just wanted a continuation, if they just miss it, or if they truly think that it didn't end well. Because if that is the case, some people feel like not all of the characters got adequate endings in a lot of these reboots that they did. And I feel like instead of continuing the story entirely, that they could save a lot of time, a lot of money, and just a lot of heartbreak if they went back, remade the series, and gave them more adequate endings. Now, I know that this isn't entirely possible because you would have to do recastings, and that can be the buzz with some of it, is that you're using the original actors in the reboots. You're bringing back actors that played this character and such and such. We will have to put that aside if we truly care about the characters. If you're a fan of the actors, I'm sure that they have other things that they've been working on and other shows that they are a part of. But if you're a fan of the character, then just be there for the show and watch for the sake of the character in the show. It's a lot easier to say than do. I know that for sure. But let me be perfectly clear. I do think that remakes would be a better solution to that, and that in particular is if an ending wasn't necessarily so satisfying, then just do a remake instead of the full-on reboot of continuing a storyline and having to come up with plot plans for it and different episodes each week. It ultimately ended up doing more damage for these series than good, and so that 90s show, iCarly, Louder and Prouder. I hope that y'all get more seasons because all three of those series are on the hook for more seasons. iCarly is shopping to see if anybody will take upon this project that they've been working on behind the scenes. And that 90s show, they are still being shopped by networks and streaming services to see if anybody wants to pick them up for a season 3. And then we have Louder and Prouder, who is still in limbo with their season 4. It has neither been confirmed nor denied by Disney Plus whether or not they are going to continue doing Louder and Prouder. But if they do continue to do it, if Disney Plus does continue to do Louder and Prouder, I would just heed this warning. Just watch the last episode, really take in what I had to say about how you tackle some of these topics that you have, because I feel like that's really the only controversy that's been around it, is that you've got to be a little more friendly with your message and not try to alienate half of your audience while you're giving it. It might be a very powerful one, but power can do some damage, if you're not careful with it. If you let an explosion run errant, then who knows who you'll damage with it. So give series the ending they deserve, or remake them so that way they can have the ending they deserve. This has been me, Jacob Lemons with LemonTalks. That is the finale of our study series. The answer is no. Reboots are not successful, nor are they necessary. And so I hope that you all have a great day. Thank you for watching, and we will still continue with LemonTalks. I will try to release videos on a regular schedule like I have been, which has been every other day. A new episode of LemonTalks will come out. Whether or not we continue this particular style of doing study series, I think that the only way that I'm going to continue doing study series, because some viewership has gotten lost along the way while doing all of this, and I think that it's just because doing a study series requires more attention over a longer period of time. But right now, we'll go back to doing what we were before, which is selecting topics for each specific episode. And then if you want to tune into that episode, you can. If you don't, then that's fine. There won't be necessarily any continuity to it other than I will be sitting here giving you the information on these topics and then letting you choose what to do with it. Again, I thank you for watching, and I thank you for continuing to watch. And I hope that you all have a great day.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even